here. Love y'all. Bye. And they've been on a spree to try to debunk myself, trying to debunk Brother Brian, trying to debunk Faithful, trying to debunk Kevin G, trying to debunk Brother Andrew and Pastor Anderson about Dante Forson, trying to debunk all of the Christian apologists. And I'm gonna say, family, listen, looking at this, baby, listen, they failing. They failing bad. Andrew, God bless you. Welcome, dear brother. They failing badly. They are. They are. But Bahrain didn't play the full video. He took it from my channel when I took it from Pastor Andrew and Pastor Anderson, when they exposed Dante and his lying so-called statement of, I guess you call that a statement of faith. I don't know what that is, child. And he didn't read, he didn't play it in context. R&O trying to tell him, listen, go to 2 hours in such and such time, read this part. Dante comes up with some flimsy excuse or whatever. Barine, just whole mind, I guess, decided to clock out. I don't know, child. But yeah, that's what they've been on a trying to debunking spree, and it ain't working. Brother Brian, would you agree? It ain't working. Mm-mm. And plenty of other brothers and sisters in the body of Christ, and some folks on the outside of the body of Christ that's trying to get part of the body of Christ and learn more about God, looked at it and was like, hell no, what are y'all up here doing? Like, like this is a mess. And I did have the pleasure of speaking to a few other people that I have never spoken to before. Most of them were internationally. And one sister I spoke from, she's from Phoenix, Arizona. She's from where Vocab is. And she was like, I'm looking at this, and she was like, I don't want no parts of this, Sister Charity. She was like, I was thinking about Hebrew Israelism, and she was like, listen, after seeing that, I don't want no parts of it, because it was like the whole mind just clocked out. She was like the reading comprehension. And most of the discussion that I was having with people were about the reading comprehension of the Hebrew Israelites, the lack of reading comprehension. Do they understand what they're reading? No. Can they comprehend what they're reading? No. Are they reading in context? No. When context kills false doctrine, this is why they caught up in false doctrine. So it's a lot going on and wrong with these people. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that, but don't sit up here and try to step up to us like you know it, like you gonna dominate somebody and you can barely read, sir, ma'am. What? And I'm just saying. Okay, so anyway, listen, I can go further on that. That could be a whole hangout by itself. Praise God. Listen, but Kevin G brought up something last night when he was up here, and I hope dear brother come up here. And he brought to our attention last night what happened between him and Dante, because like I told him, I only caught the tail end of that particular discussion. And Kevin G did a wonderful job. I mean, exit right, like boom, I'm gone. Y'all, ta-ta, have a good night. I did my job. And he did. But he drew us back into the middle of the conversation between him and Dante Forson. Baby, listen. The child, listen, Dante need to stop trying to he needs to stop doing what he doing altogether, straight across the board. I'm just gonna stop bumping my gums, and I'm gonna let y'all listen to this, because this is crazy. Kevin G whooped this man, and I know he wasn't up there to do that, but he whooped Dante so bad and embarrassed Dante so bad, and I know he wasn't trying to do that, but it was just, I was lost for words. I was like, oh, and I want you to see it. I want you to see it, because they ain't gonna tell it, right? They ain't gonna tell it, right? They're gonna make sure they're gonna try to hide it, but not Cherry Love, you know. So I made sure I covered all bases here. So here we go, family. I'm gonna stop bumping my gums. I'm gonna show you this. Here we go.
That was specifically towards you, I guess, with the article. All right, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish reading it because there's more to it. Share my screen again, and then I'll read the rest. Well, not the whole thing. It's like 20 pages, but I'll read some more of it
There you
when
go.
they talk specifically about Africa.
Hey,
Right here.
I'll stick around for the whole
This is
20 pages, bro. Read it all.
this is page this is page 233. It says, with the contemporary period, a totally different attitude is evident among explorers, sociologists, and anthropologists. They do not merely state the existence of Black Jewish communities, but they attempt to analyze the customs, moral rights, and languages of African societies to draw conclusions and advance hypotheses. J. Leighton Wilson was a missionary for 18 years in Africa. In his work, Western Africa, Its History, Condition, and Prospects, London, 1856, he writes that in Senegambia, religion was a mixture of paganism, Judaism, and Islam, and that it was difficult to define the areas of influence for each of the three religions. In northern Guinea, paganism and Judaism were closely intertwined, and in the south, there were more traces of Christianity. He based his conclusions on the existence of some customs which seemed to him to be remnants of Judaism: circumcision, the divisions of the tribes into 12 large families, the strict prohibition on marriage between families that were too closely linked, sacrifices which involved smearing of blood on altars and lintels of the doorways, periods of mourning which involved shaving the head and wearing dirty clothes, possessions by demons, and purifications. He was unable to get any references or precise explanations from the natives as to the origin of these traditional practices, and it is thus possible to see here Jewish influences. It is also possible that in West Africa, the Ashanti of the Gold Coast had also been influenced by Judaism, and there are traces of this in some of their beliefs and customs. The patrilineal system is common to the two societies, Jewish and Ashanti. Among the Ashanti, the marriage
Hey,
of girls is subject.
real quick, Dante, could you read that part again? Because I cut out the mic. You were getting. They said they were influenced by what now? They were influenced by what?
Let me back up. It says he was unable to get any references or precise explanations from the natives as to the origin of these traditional practices, and it is thus possible to see here Jewish influences. It is also
Appreciate it, bro.
possible that in West Africa, the Ashanti of the Gold Coast had also
So
been
right
influenced by
there, I
Judaism.
caught something, and I know Kevin G caught something right there in the midst of him reading. The scholar who wrote this paper said that he was unable to come to any findings about these people regarding, let me see, it says here, let me go back. He was unable to get any references or precise explanation from the natives as to the origins of their traditional practices. And it is thus possible to see here Jewish influences, right? So right there, before we get to the part that we're going to get to, Dante is already cut in his own source. So what he does, he'll read it and he glosses through it. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
Now I'm curious, are they trying to say they're Jewish rabbinic traditions?
That's
Or
exactly
are they saying they're Christians? See, that don't make no sense to me, because half of them say they're Judaism, the other half says they believed in Christianity.
Well, see, the argument is that they're trying to make, that Dante and them trying to make, is saying that these people were actual Jews. But this person who wrote this paper, because you see two different types of influences. Christianity is influencing these people, as well as Judaism is influencing these people. However, that does not make them what? Actual bloodline Jews. Dante is using this source as if this here validates or proves whatever, try to prove his case. But this source that he is using disproves him from what I just read. So before we even get to the part that Kevin G is going to bring out, he's already cut. That's why I maybe Kevin G didn't hear that part. So I mean, I'm not going to say he did or he didn't, but I'm glad that he said, can you read that over again? Because I didn't catch it. So maybe he didn't catch it, but I caught it. Listen, Dante is already cut in the midst of his own source before he finishes. I'm going to read the part again. it says he, talking about the author, was unable to get any references or precise explanation from the natives as to the origin of their traditional practices. And it thus possible to see here Jewish influences. So influence, they're being influenced. Obviously, the Jews are around them, these people, but it does not make those people who are being influenced by the Jews, Jews. You get what I'm saying, Brother Brian? Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So let me continue on in this part and I'll continue the video. It says, it is also possible that in West Africa, the Ashanti tribe, right, the Ashanti of the Gold Coast had also been influenced by Judaism. And there are what traces of this in some of their beliefs and customs. So that does not make them actual bloodline Jews. They're just influenced, but influenced by who? Jews.
See, that's the key right there. If they're influenced, it didn't originate from them. It originated from somebody else. So that automatically, I don't know, why would he use this?
Well,
I mean, here's the thing. If you want, and this is, if you want to be a Jew and follow Judaism, okay, be a Jew. But what does this have to do with Christianity? I don't understand that part.
It has nothing to do with Christianity. And here's the thing. Right here, when I look above here, it says in the northern Guinea, paganism and Judaism were closely intertwined. And in the south, there were more traces of Christianity. He bases his conclusion on the existence of some customs, which seems to him to be remnants of Judaism, circumcision, and division of the tribes into 12 large families. The strict prohibition of marriage between families that were too closely linked, sacrifice, which involves smearing blood, on the altars and the lintels of the doorways. A period of mourning in which involves shaving the heads and wearing dirty clothes. Possibly, I'm sorry, can't really make that one out. I think that's possibly or position. And it says possession by demons and purification. Okay, so that's that word. He was unable to get any reference or precise explanation from the natives as to the origins of their traditional practices. And it is thus possible to see their Jewish influences. It is also possible that in West Africa, the Ashanti of the Gold Coast had also been influenced by Judaism, and there are traces of this in some of their beliefs and customs. The perennial system in common to the two societies, Jews and Ashanti. So it's separating them. The Ashanti is being influenced by the Jews, but it doesn't mean that the Ashanti tribe is the Jews. So Dante is not vetting his sources like we've been saying the whole doggone time. He's using stuff that debunks him, which is fine by me. Because we ain't going to do nothing but go back and what? Read in context. But unfortunately, folks is too lazy to read in context. Remember, context kills false doctrine. Read the whole thing or read a good portion of it so you can get a full understanding about what's taking place. You wouldn't have this problem. But okay, here we go.
And there are traces of this in some of their beliefs and customs. The patrilineal system is common to the two societies, Jewish and Ashanti. Among the Ashanti, the marriage of girls is subject to the same rules as those of the girls of the Salfad who married the son of their father's uncle. The Ashanti marriage ceremony was identical to that of the ancient Hebrews and as simple. The price of marriage, including the offering of wine, the presentation and acceptance of presents, were all that were required as formalities. Among the Ashanti, the period of the mother's impurity lasted for a week after the birth and was terminated by the Intia ritual When the young Ashanti recites his own name, and on the 14th day, there's another ceremony for purification. Leviticus 12, 1 through 8, the purification of a mother. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall continue in the, I think that's bold, of her purifying 3 and 30 days. The sexual prohibitions on women during their periods are identical among the Ashanti and the Hebrews. Leviticus 15:19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever touches her shall be unclean. Leviticus 18:19. Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she's put apart for uncleanness. In moving to consider the semantic and dialectic domain among the Ashanti, we discover that there are clear similarities between some words used by them and other terms used in Hebrew. The Hebrew word tahara means purification and refers to the rite of expiation, which washes away all dirt. That's from Leviticus 3:18 through 20. Homophonetically, the word is close to the Ashanti word odwira. I'm probably butchering the words, which means purification and refers to the ritual ceremony of smearing of ram's blood on the sword, which is a symbol of the clan. The Hebrew rite of the Feast of the Tabernacle is close to the Ashanti ritual of the presentation of the stool. These stools can be compared to the thrones, since they are sculpted seats of the chiefs, and each is thought to be the home of the ancestral spirits. Above all that of the chief who had used it. Festivities last for 7
Did you hear
days,
that?
and the blood of the
Did you hear
sacrificed ram
that?
was smeared on the stools.
Go ahead, bro.
Leviticus 23:33.
Go ahead.
Ancestor worship. West African worship ancestors. That's exactly what he said. He said the spiritual of the ancestors. West African, a lot of tribes in West Africa worship ancestors.
Right.
That's what he just read.
Right.
And he breezed over it pretty quick.
Right. Right. He's getting cut even before we even get to Kevin G. And I want to bring to your remembrance something else after we let this go through, because we caught this once before with Dante again and a few other his little cronies. They have a habit of doing this, which I know I'm not telling y'all nothing new, but they have a big habit of what? Not vetting their sources and not reading in context. This is a major problem. If you don't study in context, how are you going to teach in context? You're not able to give people the full information that they need. You're sending people out there half behind, right? I can't use the other word because I'm saved. But again, but y'all know what I'm saying. I'm sure you heard it before, right? So let's continue. It is ancestral worship. So Brother Brian caught the second part that I caught as well. I brought out the first one. Brother Brian brought out the second. So we're on the same accord, Brother Brian. Here we go.
36. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of the month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days, unto the Lord. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do the work therein. So what of the Ashanti concept of God, of divinity? They believe in a supreme being, a God, the creator, Onyame. But their concept of the divine is not theorized. There are only indications in some proverbs. Captain R. Sutherland Rattray, who lived for 20 years in West Africa, collected some of these proverbs, which contain the Ashanti image of God, and these appear in his book Ashanti Proverbs, Oxford 1916. Of all the land, Oyame is the first. In other words, God is prior to everything. Genesis 1, in the beginning was God. All men are the children of Onyame.
Okay, hold on. Let me pause there. Let me get my, I should have had my pen and paper. So I'm messing up. This is the third part. Ayame. Right? Ayame. Give me a second. Okay. Let me see. How you spell this dude's name? Where are you at? Okay. Onyame. Okay. All right. I wanted to get that. Okay, here we go.
No one is a child of the earth. God created man, Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he male and female. Let me see, created he them. These two Ashanti proverbs seem to us more an expression of popular wisdom than of religious beliefs, although they do transmit the perception the ideas of the Ashanti have the supreme being. Their confidence in this order, which is naturally good order, but what seems to be lacking is sacred dimension through which they can be seen as more than maxims dictated by everyday experience. If we now turn to the domain of the semantic in the word oyame, the supreme being of the Ashanti, the O is often omitted, and the word Inyame is used to designate God. For the Hebrews, Yahweh is the revealed God, and this word has an extraordinary vocal similarity to Inyame, which is also Naya Kapan, and the one and only, the Almighty. Saturday is their sacred day. What is said for the Lord of the Sabbath? One of the attributes of Enyame is Bora Bor, which signifies the creator. The Hebrew verb bara, to create, is similar, not so much for its consonants as for its meaning. Among West African tribes, the terminal T or Tai signifies the race of the men of the children of. If we deconstruct the term Ashanti, we have the children of Ashan, or the race of Ashan. Book 1 of Chronicles 4:32. And their villages were Etam and Ayin and Rimmon and Token and Ashan, 5 cities. The book of Joshua 21:13 through 16. Thus they gave the children of Aaron the priest Ashan. Are the Ashanti the children of the town of Ashan and the descendants of the tribe of Simeon? In southern Nigeria, the natives call black Jews the strange people on the Imo Yokaim. They are called the B'nai Ephraim, the sons of Ephraim. They claim that their ancestors came from Morocco. This is supported by Gabi, which Second Exodus just referenced. This is supported by Gabi, who noted that their language is a mixture of Maghrebian Arab, ancient Hebrew, and local patois. For example, father became Yaba. For mother is close to the Hebrew word. The Imo Yokaim Jews live in the Ondo district and have a copy of the Torah. The study of the customs and rites and the analysis of semantics of these African tribes have led many of their observers to propose some hypothesis and even draw some conclusions. Dr. Alan H. Godbey reached the following conclusions. These factors have a very specific significance if we consider the presence of Judaism among the American Negroes. Hundreds of thousands of slaves were transported to America from West Africa during the slave trade, which started some 400 years ago. What traces of Judaism still remained among the Negroes of West Africa at that period? To the extent that they were persecuted, they were more likely than other Negroes to be seized during wars and sold as slaves. It is virtually certain that many part Jewish Negroes were among those sent as slaves to America. How many of them would have been able to conserve some Jewish customs is another question. This conclusion put forward by Godbey, which argues for the existence of a more or less recurrent Judaism in West Africa in the same places as those from which the Negroes were taken, is shared by others such as Maurice Delafosse. But significantly, it has been adopted by a class of educated Black Americans as the key argument to demonstrate that the Jewish religion is the traditional religion of Africans brought in slavery to the American continent.
All right, so you're not going to continue to read that?
But what else is there to
How
read?
far you want me to go? You want me to read this whole thing?
Right. So
You want me to read the whole
says,
paper? It's like 20 some pages long.
Right, but hold on, bro. Watch this. I'm gonna read that paragraph you just
We
read.
can keep reading. We can read all the way through it.
No, he want to read them last couple of sentences you just read.
Okay.
Let him go.
Watch this. That's why I was quiet. I let you read this for a reason, right?
All right, go ahead.
Because once again, this article is to show proof of where Black Jews get their religion from. And what they did was examine some of the Judaism or Judaic sources or remnants that was left that influenced these people. It was clearly said multiple times in this article. So now, when you look at what you just read, it says this conclusion put forth by Gabi, which argues the existence or more or less recurrent Judaism in West Africa in the same places as those which Negroes were taken, is shared by others such as Maurice Delfos. That's what you read. Then you said this, but most significantly, it has been adopted a class of educated Black Americans as key argument to demonstrate that the Jewish religion is the traditional religion of Africans brought in slavery to the American continent. But here's what he said after that. Nothing either confirms or repudiates this theory. Why didn't you read that? Why didn't you read where he concluded that nothing either confirms or repudiates this theory? In fact,
nothing confirms or denies it, right? He just stated the fact.
Hold on.
He stated the fact. We can keep going.
But
he didn't read the rest of the paragraph. Read the rest of the paragraph. Don't stop if we're going to read it.
You just read.
If we're going to keep reading, don't read one sentence. Read the whole rest of the paragraph.
I am. We're gonna watch this. I'm gonna keep reading. Watch this.
Keep going.
So all that you just read in that theory about that happening, he says nothing either confirms or repudiates this theory. In fact, we need to be very cautious in this instance. It is difficult to accept without some debate the thesis that these Black slaves in the frequently insupportable material conditions in which we were forced to live, they were forced to live, were able to conserve, maintain, and transmit a religion such as the Jewish religion. My God. He said it is a commonplace that this religion in particular is subject to the strict and well-defined rules of behavior and ritual. In this context, the case of Islamicized pearls can be obviously cited, where they were brought into slave training boats and knew how to read and write Arabic. But even this instruction, which could have acted as a means of resistance, could not have been transmitted through the groups of Black slaves on the plantations. It is easy to accept that Jews of North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula had contact with African Negro bloc, and they were forced to seek refuge in Black Africa and to mix with the indigenous population, and that their descendants kept bits and pieces of the religious customs. And it is understandable, right, that on the argument of the existence of Black Jewish communities in the African continent acted as support and basis for the mythography, because the purpose of myth was to offer an objective image of the world, but to explain the way in which man was to understand the relation of the world. We cannot, however, see the myth of Black slaves with traditional Jewish faiths simply as a straightforward literary or philosophical creation. This mythology is weighed down by the whole series of factors, which all above is the psychology of Black Americans. So what he's saying here in the paper that you just read, that this is nothing more but influence of Jews that settled in this area and left. And hold on,
Dante, you breaking up. No, let him go. Let him talk.
But here's what it says. He says that in this context, it is obvious that they can say that it was Islamic sources that brought that in, because the evidence that they have is, and I quote, they were brought in on slave trading boats and knew how to read and write Arabic. Isn't that funny? Because the only...
Now, family, wait a minute. Kevin G got the same sword.
Yep.
And Dante didn't read that source. He didn't read it all the way. Why? Because what Kevin G is giving you right now, he wanted to stay away from that. Then he gonna snatch it up, try to snatch it back. Well, we gonna read, don't read one sentence. Let's read it all. No, sir, you was already reading. You the one who stopped. Why did you stop, Dante?
You know why he stopped.
Yeah, because of what Kevin G is bringing out right now. Straight up busted, Sister Monette. Straight up busted. Because he's lying. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
That's what I was going to point out. I mean, you know, and this is the thing. They won't read it. They won't. He was going to stop. He was not going to read that part that Kevin G pointed it out. Why don't you read the whole thing? And then he took it off the page so nobody else could see it.
But guess what? That's the power of recording, ain't it?
Yep.
That's the power of recording. So as soon as I can move this thing out the way, let's go back up in here. right before Kevin G gets the reading. Let's see if we can see it. Where Kevin G left off at. Let me see. Just give me a second. Okay, he's got it covered. So he didn't bring up the article all the way. Look how he got the article position, Brother Brian. We can't even read down on it.
Well, he don't want nobody to know what the name of it is, and don't know